Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and it's full review time on the Hera. This is the Microtech Hera. It is my current favorite Microtech offering, and I'm going to be selling it, which is kind of crazy to say. So it has been an interesting road to get here with Microtech. I have tried most of their OTF lineup. I've tried a couple of their out-the-side autos, a couple of their manual knives, and I like a lot of things about Microtech, and I like a lot of things about their OTFs. They're fun, they're tactical, they pull on those like action movie strings that we've all got inside of our hearts. But they oftentimes have things that I don't love, like glass breakers and, I don't know, blade play, things that just aren't ideal. Now, the thing that has happened is basically that I've gotten a Hawk Deadlock Model C. That's the only reason why I'm willing to sell this knife. That, and I'm trying to fund something else that's expensive, and this is a block to move to get to that. But the Deadlock Model C just makes other OTFs seem kind of silly. It just proves that you don't have to have blade play in them. And so all of that being said, I love the Hera. It's just interesting timing that now that I've finally found the Microtech OTF that feels most perfect for me, I found just a different brand that's made me like, okay, cool, I figured it out. This is the one that I would most recommend if someone is looking for a Microtech. And I can say that with a straight face that it is, in my opinion, the best OTF of theirs that I've handled, that they currently make. I think it's awesome. But it's not going to be an ultimate long-term keeper for me because I'm about to let it go. Anyway, I got this knife from Rivers Edge Cutlery. Anytime I get something from them, I want to make sure I link them down below because they've been super supportive of my channel. They're awesome. So check them out at the links down below. I'll put their Instagram, their YouTube channel, and their site. Great guys over there. Yeah, so I've had this knife now for a couple of months, really, and I've carried it quite a few times. I've used it a decent bit, and as much as I would use a double-edged OTF, I've used it for a lot of pretty light-duty stuff. But the couple of things that, right off the bat, before I go into my typical ergos, carry, cutting, all that kind of stuff, the things that just make me like this more than all other Microtech OTFs that I've experienced so far are really just a few. But number one, the butt end of this knife does not have a glass breaker on it. Thank goodness. I'm sick of glass breakers. I don't want to see them on any knife. Folding out the front, doesn't matter. I get that just saying that, there's going to be a couple guys in my comments, you have no idea how important glass breakers are. If you're in a vehicle that's sinking in the water, you're going to wish you never said that. I don't care. I genuinely, I think it's a dumb thing to have on a knife. I think it gets in the way more than it'll ever be helpful. If you're a first responder who's busting into windows all the time, have a designated glass breaker on you. If you're someone who lives near water and you're worried you might drive into it, have a glass breaker in your cup holder, your center console, somewhere that you're going to be able to grab easier than it would be in your pocket underneath the seatbelt and all that nonsense. Just, there are better ways to have a glass breaker than to have it stuck on the butt end of your knife. Dagger edge knives should go in a reverse grip real well. A lot of people, myself included, in a reverse grip want a good spot to put your thumb up on top of the knife to keep yourself from sliding down onto it if you were to hit something hard. Having a glass breaker there ruins that. It's bad for it. I hate glass breakers. So the fact that they offer, this is one of their new flagship OTFs, and it doesn't have a glass breaker on it, just makes my heart sing. I love it. I'm so glad that it doesn't have one. I hope that this is a new trend in their lineup of knives, that there aren't glass breakers on there. It does have a ceramic ball huge on the pocket clip. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's something they designed in. You could whack a window with that or something. If that's the case, sure. I don't mind that you put it there because it's not hot spotty. It doesn't get in the way. It's fine. The other thing that I love on this compared to other Microtech OTFs is the fact that the blade stock that they used here isn't super thick for a double-edged knife. And even though these are short, little flat grinds, I've just found that this knife, for a double-edged OTF, cuts pretty freaking well. It's not incredible. It's not going to run laps around a single-edged folding knife that is designed to have cutting geometry and not piercing geometry like this does. But for a double-edged OTF from Microtech, I've just found that this one cuts better than any other double-edged OTF I've had from them. I've had the Troodon, I've had Combat Troodons, I've had the Ultratech, I've had a lot of their knives. The only exception would be the Exo set, because that's such a wide blade because of that weird stubby profile that it's got going on, and it's such thin stock that thing actually has like really good slicing geometry. But this being what I'd consider more like their core lineup of actual like primary designed OTF knives, I would say this one has the best cutting geometry. Yeah, other than that, I guess that's the real main differences. The other difference is this pocket clip, but I honestly don't love this pocket clip more than I like, for instance, the Troodon clip. It works just fine. I'd say it's probably kind of a tie. The only difference is it's way too tight, and it hasn't really loosened over time. But we'll get there. So yeah, the big takeaways of why I like this so much better are because the profile doesn't include a glass breaker, and I think it looks better, feels better, works better because of that. And it has a nice thin blade stock that is ground fairly well for what it is to be functional at slicing tasks. All right, so let's start with ergos. Ergos on this knife I like quite a bit. For my hands, it's comfortable. I find that there are a number of grips that I like. Kind of right here using the button, my pinky actually hangs off when I do that, but it gives me a really kind of aggressive forward grip on it. If I'm doing cutting tasks like slicing and stuff, it's usually more of a hammer grip all the way up here. That's comfortable. But yeah, there's a number of ways I can hold on to this, kind of using the switch or the button here as part of the grip, and it's comfortable in that way. It's pretty aggressively jimped, typical Microtech switch there, but it works well, locks the thumb in. So yeah, in these kind of more typical saber and hammer grips that I'm using a lot, it's very comfortable. In a reverse grip, also super, super comfortable. I love this knife in a reverse grip. It just works great in that way, which it's a dagger ground double-edged blade, so it should. And the fact that it's double-edged means every grip that you've got it in is not only a like forward cut, but also a draw cut, because you've got an edge there on the back as well. So you can pull back through things, and you've got edge on both sides of the blade, which is nice, so you're not having to like orient the knife for getting that other edge there. That's the advantage of a double-edged blade, I guess. Yeah, so ergos, I like it quite a bit. I'll say compared to my Troodon, I think it's like same level of comfort. Both fit my hand really well. I sold my Troodon just recently, otherwise I'd hold them up both together. But the only reason I sold the Troodon, that was my king at the moment, was because I got this, and this trumped it. And then now I've got the Deadlock Model C, which trumps every other OTF I've ever experienced. But yeah, so ergos are quite good. Carry. Carry on this knife is pretty good. Again, the clip is too tight, and it just doesn't have give. It is really, really stiff. You've got this like ceramic ball here, which is what's actually interfacing with the scale of the knife, if you will, and it works. There's plenty of clearance under it, so I haven't had any issues in jeans or anything thicker. It's been fine in whatever pair of pants I've worn, but it can be a little bit of a bear to get in and out just because the clip is so stiff. I do think this clip looks better than their typical clips. It's a handsome clip to have sticking out of your pocket. I like that it doesn't have Microtech branded all over it, or the chicken foot huge on it like it does here on the body of the knife, but I like that it's not all over the clip. So it's a good looking clip. It rides fairly deep for a titanium non-loop over, like just a milled titanium clip. So there's not a ton of knife sticking out of pocket. Doesn't look crazy. I like that, but it's too tight. That's one thing that it doesn't get amazing, is that it's definitely too tight. Let's talk action. So as Microtech OTFs go, this is probably my favorite that I've ever experienced. The feel of the switch, the crispness of the break, the like thrust, the llama thrust of the the action. It has it's a good, snappy, firm, hard fire, smooth, slick retraction. Feels really, really good, and it's crisp and it's smooth, and it also has what I think is probably the least blade play I've ever had in a Microtech. Still some, you can hear it, but it's less than other Microtechs that I've had, and it just feels like a nice snap. Like it's a good, slick OTF. The amount of pressure it takes in the button is certainly a lot less than some I've had from Microtech. Some are, especially on closure out of the box, have been borderline impossible to close with one finger. It drives me nuts when they send out a knife like that. But yeah, this one came out of the box ready to rock. It's a good, very nice Microtech action. It's smooth, it's crisp, it fires hard, so it doesn't leave anything to be desired there. If you want a fun OTF action, that's a good time to just sit and deploy and retract. This one's really, really good. That leaves us with cutting. Like I already mentioned, as OTFs go, it's awesome. This blade also looks incredible with the two fullers that have the holes going through them. This is, I think, my favorite double-edged blade that Microtech has ever put out, at least on a production knife. I think it just looks phenomenal. It's part of why I was so drawn to this knife, is that double fuller with the holes. It just looks really, really cool. Everything is even on it in terms of grinds. Everything looks perfect to me. It's just really, really well made. The blade stock isn't overly thick for no reason. In fact, it's a pretty thin blade stock. It slices fairly well. It pierces like an absolute dream. This tip is bananas. Puncturing into stuff is like nothing. It's just kind of insane how easily this knife goes into things. So I like it in that way. It's a fun knife to cut things with because it is like such a tactical blade, but it also works. So not the most effective cutting tool in the world if you're looking to do slicing tasks, but it's very pokey stabby. It will pierce like crazy, has a good edge on it, and it does cut fairly well. So as double-edged OTFs go, I like it a lot. So we've talked Ergo's carry, cutting, action. We talked about all of them. Great. Where does that leave me? Yeah, I'm selling it. I think if this knife was priced lower, I might not sell it. I might keep it just because it kind of is finally my favorite Microtech OTF. But this knife goes for over $400. I think it's close. It's like $430 or something like that. That's expensive for an aluminum bodied production OTF from Microtech. I don't think it's like super out of line with their other pricing, but it just seems like kind of a lot when some of the other brands like Guardian Tactical and now Axial Gear are putting out knives that are fairly comparable and cost like half. It seems like a lot, and I was happy to pay it. I don't even regret paying it. I don't think that it's necessarily not worth that amount of money. I just don't think it's a great value. And now that I'm trying to fund something else that I'm trying to buy, automatically I look at the knives that are worth bigger chunks in my collection that I don't love as much as others, because they're the easiest ones to only let go of one or two and then fund something great. Instead of having to let go of like 5 $200 knives, I can let go of 2 $400 knives and 1 $200 knife. That's easier for me to do. They're more meaningful chunks, if that makes any sense at all. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's like super out of line on pricing. I think especially for it feeling a little bit classier, having a cooler looking blade, and the fit and finish on this feels a little bit better put together than most Microtechs that I've handled. Like, I can see how they're there. This does feel a little bit more premium than like the Ultratech and the Troodon, and even the Troodon is really expensive too. It's not like those knives are cheap. Microtech's knives are generally pretty freaking expensive. But I don't know. It feels like it could be a little cheaper too. So that's a real scientific way of describing that, I guess. It's just the way my thoughts are coming out. Anyway, I like it. It is my favorite Microtech. Genuinely is. It would be easy for me to keep one of these, carry it every now and then, and enjoy it. But with a Deadlock Model C, if I'm reaching for an OTF, this pales in comparison. The Deadlock was $1,000 though, so it cost a lot more. They're much harder to get. It's like it's not playing the same game, so it's not really fair to compare them so much either. But yeah, as Microtech OTFs go, and as non-Hawk OTFs go, I think this is currently my favorite. Having tried a Guardian Tactical, having tried an Axial Gear, this certainly feels more premium. It feels nicer. It doesn't feel like a better value though. So take all that for what it's worth. I guess that's kind of where my thoughts are. But that'll be it. That'll be my full review of the Microtech Hera. And we'll see. I'm sure it won't be long until I get another Microtech to check out. I tend to get excited by them and to pick them up pretty easily. So, all right. Thanks for checking it out, guys. We'll see you on the next one.